you, because listen, I'm often caught between housewives. This one's like, why are you friends with her? I mean, you get caught between housewives. I know that you are somewhat friendly with Leanne. You text her. We love Leanne here behind the velvet rope. She's been here. Like, how does your friend Deandra feel about this friendship with Leanne?
This is what I say about being friends with someone who isn't friends with someone else. I am friends with Leanne. I am friends with Deandra. They are not friends. When I hang out with Leanne, we don't talk about Deandra. And when I hang out with Deandra, we don't talk about Leanne. And if I could not be friends with someone that one of my other friends disliked, I would have no friends left because Dallas is small and people have little things over big things, small things, medium things. And it's like, hello, I am a grown ass woman. I will be friends with whoever I choose to be friends with. And if you guys don't like that, that becomes your problem. But right now, I'm friends with both of these women, and it's not an issue for me because when I hang out with them, like we don't talk about the other person. We talk about all these other things. Leanne and I have plenty to talk about. We don't touch on Deandra, and Deandra and I have plenty to talk about, and we don't talk about Leanne. So we sort of just, it's like when you think your teenager like might not be a virgin anymore, but you really don't want to ask them about it. And it's like, well, at some point, they're gonna, right? So let's just not even go there. Just ignore it.
Short of the reference to children, which I don't have, I repeat that about 20 times a day, 100%. It's like, so I'm just going to record that little part and I'm going to start. I say the same thing all the time. I'm like, your enemy is not my enemy. And we don't talk about you. It's like, everything is trustworthy. It's like a cement wall of like, it's one thing has nothing to do with the other. Right. Cause I really get that hundreds of times a day. And I'm like,
yeah,
I'm not in the middle. I love you both.
Because you're friends with everybody. Like you're friends with all the housewives. And so, I mean, you really must be caught in the middle.
Well, not everybody. There is a list of people that I may not be friends with.
Oh, well, let's hear it. Can I interview you now?
Is that your way of turning this around, Tiffany?
I mean, you asked me all the hard questions. Let me ask you one.
Let me put it this way. Nobody from Dallas is really on my stay away from list. Let's put it that. You guys are just nice in Dallas, most of you.
Yeah.
Well, before we get to your comedy, I wanted to ask about, because I know when Ebony was here, she said there was a text chain, between you and Garcelle and Crystal, because you were all predominantly going through the same thing, like the non-white cast member on a predominantly white cast, like Garcelle, Crystal, you, I forgot who else, somebody else. But what do you think of all that's going on now with like Jenny Nguyen and like Mary Cosby from Salt Lake?
Yeah, I just became privy of that because I'm in Italy and have been, outside walking around with my husband and I haven't been on social media. So it just recently came to my attention today that there was some stuff that Jenny may have said in the past that was very unsavory. I haven't had time to look through the things, but from what I read from the comments, it seems that she was very short-sighted in what she may have put on the internet. I know that her and Mary have not been getting along, sort of, they just never really saw eye to eye. But my whole take on this situation is that like two wrongs don't make a right. I mean, whatever Mary said that was, defamatory or Jenny didn't like is bad. And then if Jenny's going out and doing the same thing, like then she's just as bad, right? Like two rights do not make a wrong. Like everyone needs to do better. And we're not going to do that by tearing each other down. So I still need to, get a little bit deeper into what happened, but it doesn't sound good.
It doesn't sound good. I haven't really gone that deep. And, with Mary, it happens on air where she did make a reference to how gorgeous Jenny was and how much she loved her slanty eyes. Those were, I'm not just repeating the words. So that's, and like you look at like Crystal, like I know Crystal has shared, like, Crystal's gotten like, I'm sure like death threats and Crystal's gotten.
I have those too.
Really?
Yeah. I've had text messages telling me, you're so ugly. I'd like to put a bag over your face. Why don't you go back to China? you know, I'd love to shove a chicken foot down your throat, you know, like same thing.
What is wrong with this world?
We don't have enough time on the podcast today to discuss that, David.
No, we do not. No, we do not.
Yeah, so I don't know what's happening, but I do know that we all need to, you know, give each other a little grace and that we all need to do better.
People are like losing their minds in Corona. They are.
They are.
Has all of that directed towards you soften, like just not being on the show? You know, you're still, everyone knows who you are. You're still in the public eye, but like, has that softened, or it still comes just as hard as if the show was on every week?
I think that it's softened. Everything has softened sort of because, you know, it's like out of sight, out of mind. So back when the show was airing, oh my gosh, I was getting like hundreds of DMs a day. I just like couldn't even get to them. But now it's much more manageable. So, yeah, I guess in some ways that's one of the perks of not being on the show anymore.
Man. Well, let's talk about comedy, Tiffany.
Yes.
I don't think of comedy when I think of Tiffany Moon, Dr. Tiffany Moon. So talk to me about where does this come from? It's like we said, like it was just you being on the show and people saying, wait, you're funny. I mean, people tell me I'm funny all the time. I mean, here I am behind the velvet rope. I'm not sure I'm going to go do stand-up, nor do I think I necessarily could even come close to doing stand-up. So like just walk me through this.
Well, people have always said that I'm funny, like my true friends that are close to me. And I think a lot of that didn't come out on the show because it's hard to be funny when you're, you know, being attacked and gaslit. But it did come out a little bit. And I have a big presence on TikTok, and people would say, oh my gosh, your TikToks are so funny. Like, why didn't we see this version of Tiffany on Housewives? I'm like, because I was being attacked. Like, you know, it's hard to let your walls down and, you know, kind of be vulnerable when people are just like lodging things at you all the time. And I believe in serendipity and sort of kismet. And I became friends with a girl that is a professional comedian. And she encouraged me. She said, I think you're really funny. I think you could do stand up. Will you try it out? I'll give you the opportunity to open my show. And I was like, can I think about this for a day or two? And I decided, you know, I've played my whole life so safe, you know, been a good girl my whole life, checked all the boxes, did all the things, never really did anything that was sort of what people would be like, oh my gosh, you're doing what? And I was like, you know what the hell? Like, I've already embarrassed myself enough by, you know, being on Housewives and shitting myself on TV. How bad could a 5-minute stand-up set be? So I told her I'll do it. And then I started, you know, writing jokes, rehearsing them, practicing. And I did one stand-up set, which is now on YouTube. So you can go watch it if you want.
I am going to go watch it. I knew that you did one, but now I'm going to go find it. How did that go?
As a person who likes assigning grades to things, I would give myself, as a first time ever stand-up comedian, a solid B. It was not great, but I did get a couple of laughs.
Listen, I mean, the first time is the hardest, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, I didn't forget what I was going to say. Like, it kept going. In the YouTube video, which was recorded on my friend's iPhone, so not like any special production over here, you can hear the audience laughing. A lot of them were my friends. Deandra was there. So, you know, they might've just laughed because they're my friends. So we'll see if, when the audience isn't comprised of mostly my friends, if they still laugh as much.